"Daddy, please stop them." The scream cut through the parking garage like glass shattering. It wasn't loud at first, more like a desperate whisper, but it carried a fear so raw that it made Daniel Cruz drop the mop bucket from his hand. Dirty water splashed across the concrete, but he didn't notice. His eyes were already searching, his heart already racing, because he knew that voice. It was Lily's. If this story touches your heart even once, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this deserve to be heard, and your support keeps them alive. Daniel was just a janitor. That's what the badge on his chest said, faded and scratched from years of use. Night shift, low pay, invisible to most people who rushed past him without a glance. But to Lily, he was everything. Mother gone since Lily was 4, cancer taking her quietly while Daniel held her hand and promised he'd be enough for their daughter. He had tried every single day since. The garage was dim, the kind of place where shadows seemed to breathe. Daniel spotted them immediately, 5 men surrounding a small figure near a parked black SUV. Lily's pink backpack was on the ground, one strap torn. She stood frozen, tears streaking her face, her small hands clenched into fists she didn't know how to use yet. "Hey!" Daniel shouted, his voice cracking with fear and fury. "Get away from her!" The men turned slowly. They were big, confident, dressed in leather jackets and smirks. One of them laughed, low and cruel. "Relax, old man. We're just talking." Daniel stepped forward anyway. His legs shook, but he didn't stop. He didn't think about the odds. He didn't think about the fact that he was outnumbered, unarmed, exhausted from a 12-hour shift. All he saw was his daughter. "She's 8, Daniel said, his voice trembling now. "You step back. Now." Another man scoffed. "Or what? You'll mop us to death." That was the moment Lily screamed again. "Daddy, please stop them." Something inside Daniel snapped, not in rage, but in clarity. Fear vanished. Doubt disappeared. There was only one truth left. No one was taking his child. Not tonight. Not ever. The first punch came from the man closest to him. Daniel barely felt it. He grabbed the man's arm and drove his shoulder forward the way he used to in his younger days, back when he worked construction, back when his hands were strong and his body knew how to move. The man went down hard, slamming against the SUV. The others rushed him. Fists flew. Daniel was hit in the ribs, the jaw, the back of the head. Pain exploded through his body, but he kept moving, kept swinging, kept putting himself between Lily and them. One man slipped on the wet floor from the spilled mop water. Another slammed into a concrete pillar. Daniel didn't fight like a hero from a movie. He fought like a father. Wild, desperate, relentless. One man pulled a knife. Lily screamed again. Daniel lunged without thinking, using the mop handle like a spear, knocking the blade away. The handle snapped, splinters digging into his palms, but the knife clattered across the floor. Security sirens began to wail in the distance, triggered by someone upstairs. The men hesitated. 2 of them were already down, groaning. Another had blood running from his eyebrow. "You're crazy," one of them spat. Daniel stood there, breathing hard, blood dripping from his nose, arms spread wide like a shield in front of Lily. "I'm her father," he said. "And you're done." They ran. Not bravely. Not proudly. They ran like cowards disappearing into the darkness they had crawled out of. Daniel dropped to his knees the moment they were gone. His body finally remembered the pain. Lily rushed into his arms, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "I was so scared," she cried. "I know, baby," Daniel whispered, holding her tight. "I'm here. I've got you." That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Moments later, headlights flooded the garage. A sleek black sedan pulled in, followed by a security vehicle. A man in a crisp naval uniform stepped out, metals gleaming even in the low light. Beside him was a woman with silver hair pulled back neatly, her eyes sharp but kind. They were the Admiral and his wife. They had seen everything, from a distance, from the moment Daniel charged forward without hesitation. The Admiral's wife had been the one to trigger the emergency call. The Admiral walked over slowly, taking in Daniel's injuries, Lily's torn backpack, the broken mop handle on the ground. He stopped in front of Daniel and saluted. Daniel froze. "Sir, You don't need to say a word," the Admiral said firmly. "I've commanded ships. I've led men into danger. And tonight, I witnessed one of the bravest acts I've ever seen." The wife knelt beside Lily, gently wiping her tears. "You're safe now," she said softly. "Your daddy is a very strong man." Security arrived. Police followed. Statements were taken. Medics insisted on checking Daniel, though he kept saying he was fine as long as Lily was okay. Days later, something unexpected happened. Daniel was called into the office. He assumed the worst, that he'd be fired for fighting on the job. Instead, the Admiral was waiting. "I made some calls," the Admiral said. "This building needs a head of security. Someone who understands responsibility, courage, sacrifice." Daniel stared in disbelief. "And," the Admiral's wife added with a smile, "Lily's school tuition will be covered. Consider it an investment in the future." Daniel's eyes filled with tears for the first time since his wife passed away. Not tears of pain, but of relief. That night, as Daniel tucked Lily into bed, she looked up at him and said, "Daddy, you're my hero." Daniel kissed her forehead. "No, baby," he whispered. "You're my reason."